Australia now talking about Ireland. Of all the American presidents that I've seen met, his has been the most active Irishist of them all. A man deeply proud of his faith, deeply proud of his heritage, and has paid tribute to that during his visit here. And I hope that, as a Mayo man myself, that by the time he gets to the Moy River in St. Eurydice Cathedral in Ballina this evening, that they will give him one almighty welcome.
I'm sure they will. He's been to Mayo with you before. You're a keen golfer, I hear. How is he on the course?
Well, I'll tell you, here's a little story. I played with the then captain of the course at Castlebar, Frank Murray. I played with Joe Biden as vice president and Jimmy, his brother. On the 17th green, we were leading by one. I said to Captain Murray that it wouldn't be right to take a fiver off the vice president of the United States. So he said I can miss this on the left, which he did. On the 18th green, Joe Biden was left with 10 foot to level the match. Before he hit the ball, he looked me in the eye and said, "You know I can do this." And I said, "You will." And he did. And when he was elected by 8 million votes as the popular vote in America, I sent him a note. And I said, "Remember the 18th green in Castlebar? And just as you look me in the eye, you can now look the American people in the eye and say, you know I can do this, and you will." And I do think that the achievements to date of the Biden administration have been seriously underestimated by their impact on global American and European relationships, including Ireland. I think his speech last night and the Dáil about endless possibility. Without instruction or direction in Northern Ireland, we will stand by you. I've appointed an outstanding trade mentor in Joe Kennedy III. If you decide to respond to your people by cooperation, we will stand by that. I think it's a historic visit with this sort of endless opportunity. And I said already this week, this year 2023, we've had massive business done across the states in St. Patrick's Week. This is the longest presidential visit to the island final ever. 40,000 Americans coming for the big football match there from the summer, and many multinationals saying they're going to continue to invest, continue to expand, create opportunities both ways, Ireland and America. And that's important for Europe. President von der Leyen was here recently. She said ours is the role model as to how small countries can grow in a big union. So I think this is a historic occasion. I hope the President enjoys his private visit to Knock, where Monsignor Gibbons will show him around, where he will visit the Mayor Roscommon Hospice, which he turned the sod when he was Vice President, and will enjoy his welcome home to Ballina. And as I said, I hope they hear the cheers up beyond Rockhall.
It'll be nearly as good, will it, Enda Kenny, as bringing Sam Maguire to Mayo, a future possibility.
Mary, who knows? He may well have a message for the Mayo people about that.
You never know. Enda Kenny, good to talk to you. Thank you very much for joining us. It's 11 minutes to 9.
It's not just electric, it's a Mercedes. Mercedes EQ, where luxury is reimagined for a sustainable world. Where iconic design satisfies your desire for better. Where reducing emissions is exciting. And now Mercedes introduce a new dimension to the EQ range. The all-electric EQB, offering 7 seats as standard. The sustainability of all-electric, the luxury of a Mercedes. The all-new Mercedes EQB.
Morning Ireland. Now in the time we've got left, I'm joined by Dermot Farragher, Professor of Modern Irish History from UCD, and also Ed O'Keefe, CBS Senior White House and Political Correspondent. And gentlemen, just to say, I was struck yesterday when President Biden was speaking his fall address, and he spoke about his forefathers and Barack Obama's forefathers sailing away from Ireland within 5 weeks of each other on the coffin ships, and who knew their descendants would go on, each of them, to occupy the Oval Office. But Dermot Farragher, you know, that is a fantastic image, a fantastic story, but the power of Irish America, do you think this is the last time we'll see a president who so identifies as the son of Ireland, is this its kind of last hurrah?
I would see this visit as the closing of a chapter. There's a lot of focus yesterday, understandably, on the future, but it is the closing of a chapter in the sense of an American president who will wear their Irishness in such a direct and heartfelt and very proud way, and it's very sincere. And you're talking there about a very long historical narrative of exodus from Ireland. 7 million people left this island for America between the 1740s and the 1920s. It's an extraordinary exodus. There's nothing like it anywhere else in the world in relation to such a small country. And there's such a well to draw people like Joe Biden. But they're also of their age. And with the passing of time, you're going to get less affinity and less direct identification with that sense of Irishness. I remember when Reagan was here in 1984, he talked about the dangers of drowning everyone in a bath of nostalgia, as he put it. But he was quite an Anglophile, you know. I mean, he was playing a particular part in 1984, and the Ballyporeen connection was interesting. It's much deeper for Biden, but he also invoked the ghost of JFK yesterday. And of course that very direct connection with the famine era, emigration was a part of that as well. This is the end of the road forward.
Ed O'Keefe, would you see it the same way, that this is the end of that particular Irish-American road that's gone on for 60 years since JFK first visited Ireland?
You know, it's a brilliant question, because as someone who tracks American politics and those who might one day want to be president, in addition to the guy who is president, I can't think of very many other so devotedly Irish politicians still in the mix, if you will. And so I think you're making a good point. Yes, this may be the end of at least a certain because Biden, of course, ties his legacy and the inspiration for it to the Kennedys so much that, yes, I mean, he is in essence the end of that. Him, Clinton, Reagan, those that in one way or another came up in that era. Biden is certainly the last one that was president. And so, yes, I think whatever it is going forward, it will be different. It will be based more on the current realities of the U.S.-Irish relationship, which is so rooted in economics and business investment. But you know, I'm struck walking the streets of Dublin for the first time in several years that, you know, what is Ireland and what is that relationship? It's very different than the Irish-American experience that Biden pines for and talks about. And so I think whatever it is going forward, it is more rooted in what Ireland is today.
And that's an interesting point, isn't it, Dermot? Because if you think back to JFK, you know, coming to Duncanstown 60 years ago, and I mean, Ireland very much then, you know, still an underdeveloped country, you know, and here was the glamour of America, the glamour of television coming to Ireland. 60 years on, it's nearly Joe Biden who represents this older image of Ireland, isn't it?
Very much, and I suppose a lot of what he focuses on in his speeches we would see as quite dated in a way. There's been a remarkable consistency in what American presidents have addressed thematically when they come to Ireland. They talk about the constancy and the endurance and the resilience and the faith of the Irish. We feel we're living in quite a different country now. But what has been significant, of course, is the American engagement with the Troubles of Ireland.
And it was John Hume as well. It's worth saying that remade that Irish-American relationship.
I remember listening to Seamus Mallon, the late Seamus Mallon, talking about the SDLP's journey in the 1970s, and there was a mood of drift and despair after the collapse of power sharing in 1973, and Dublin was licking its wounds, and the British government had caved into loyalists. And Seamus Mallon said John Hume went to Washington because there was nowhere else to go. And his perseverance paid off. They got the statement from Jimmy Carter in August 1977 that broke 50 years of silence from America on the Irish question. And we can't forget the silences and the irritations that were there, including in relation to World War II. So we're talking now about an almost 50-year engagement with the Irish question and the troubled question of the Ulster crisis. And of course it's still a factor. It wasn't addressed in as a direct away this time. This visit of Biden was never going to be about breaking the logjam. And you can lead the horses to water is the theme now, but they have to drink it themselves. And, you know, there was always going to be talk of hope and history rhyming, but they can stubbornly jar as well, and that has been a consistent problem for American engagement in the peace process. But I think that will remain relevant. But it's not anymore about American intervention in order to bring things to a point where they can break the stalemate.
There's the carrot of investment, and obviously Joe Kennedy Kennedy III is going to be working on all of that. But in terms of Democrats, and of course we're going to have Ed O'Keefe, we're going to have President Clinton in Belfast next week for the big Queen's Conference. George Mitchell also expected to come back for that. So the importance in particular to the Democrats of their involvement in the peace process, which was worked so hard to bring about.
Well, yes, and, not only is the Clinton legacy rooted in that, but to some extent Biden's own legacy as a senator and somebody who worried about foreign policy much more than most of his colleagues. I think they both saw what happened 25 years ago as real essential to their legacies. I've tried drawing comparisons to others. I think the way that Biden sort of personally invests himself in this island the way he does is unique, if only perhaps comparable to the way perhaps President Obama worried to some extent about Africa when he made his visit to Africa, and he encouraged Black Americans to go back and to celebrate and study their heritage and what it took to get from Africa to the United States not the United States, but to the Western Hemisphere against their will. In essence, you saw Biden yesterday saying, Irish Americans, those 1 in 10 of us, come here, understand this, be concerned about it. It's okay to do that. We should do that. Was something we haven't necessarily really heard or seen from an American president who can tie himself so much to another country.
And then this question is raised, Ed. This was the longest visit to the smallest country of President Biden's term so far. He's widely expected to declare soon that he'll be running again next year. So what's in it for him? What's in it for him facing into re-election, to emphasise this connection with Ireland so much, to spend so long here, to bring so many of his entourage with him?
Well, remember, first of all, they had first talked about coming here last year for your 100th anniversary. They couldn't do it because of the pandemic. And then it was made clear, if the 25th anniversary is coming up, we got to do it then. So they made the arrangements to do it around the anniversary. He wanted to take this trip amid all the other ones he's taking this year because it speaks to the Biden story, the Biden legacy, the reason for being president, the reason for being in politics. And they also know that this is the year to take these trips because next year, yes, will be dominated by domestic concerns and a campaign that could be pretty intense, even if he's not going to be out campaigning face-to-face, handshake to handshake, because they believe they can do it in a more digital way in this new era. But they were very keen on his behalf to make this happen, to make sure it went as smoothly as possible. I got to say, though, as much as it charms the Irish, and we've been struck as reporters who follow him, that these are some of the largest crowds who've ever seen him, period, as president. That's partly due to the pandemic. That's partly due to the fact that thousands don't show up in the rain to see their...
You're listening to RTE Radio 1 on longwave 252. From 9 a.m. this morning, RTE Radio 1 will no longer be available on longwave. But don't worry, there are still lots of ways to listen to RTE Radio 1 and all your favourite RTE radio services. In Ireland, you can continue to listen on FM, on Sairview and SairSat, and on your preferred streaming service. In the UK, you can listen on FreeSat, channel 750, Sky, channel 0160, and Virgin Media, channel 917, and on your preferred audio streaming service. You can also listen on the RTE Radio Player app. Just visit www.rte.ie/keep listening to see the range of listening options available. You can also phone the RTE Information Office on 353 1208 3434. Thank you for listening.
Follow a recipe to a T, or your cooking style is a little more free. Chicken can be whatever you make it, like succulent roast chicken with herby butter, a zesty lemon chicken salad, or spicy chicken fajitas. Always choose chicken with the Board Bia quality mark. The highest standards, verified at every stage. Chicken, make it your way.
Looking for the perfect workspace, living space or hideaway? Timber Living Log Cabins have been supplying stylish, durable log cabins to Irish customers for over 25 years. Inspired by the best in Scandinavian design and built for the demands of the Irish climate, Timber Living provide quality, cosy log cabins at affordable prices. Open your mind to a new way of living. Visit timberliving.ie or call 059 918 1039.
And that's it from Anya and from me. Full coverage of President Biden's continuing trip to Mayo throughout the day on RTE Radio and television. Thank you for listening. Thanks to the team. Broadcast coordinator Anne-Marie Donlan, on sound Dave Gibson. Our editors Kathy Farrell and Lisa Pereira, and the series editor John Burke.
And Ryan Tubridy, who was of course in the visitors gallery in the Dáil yesterday, will be with you after the 9 o'clock news from Vivian Traynor. Good morning.
Good morning. US President Joe Biden will conclude his Irish visit today with a series of engagements in County Mayo. Air Force One is expected to land at Ireland West Airport at around lunchtime. The main event this evening will be a public address in Ballina, from where Mr. Biden's ancestors emigrated in the mid-1800s. Our Western correspondent Pat McGrath.
This is the day likely to have the most personal significance for Joe Biden and family members accompanying him on the trip. Air Force One is expected to land at Ireland West Airport around lunchtime, preceding a number of stop-offs at various locations around County Mayo over the rest of the day. They'll commence with a visit to Knock, where Mr. Biden will visit the Marian Shrine and take some time for private prayer. The next scheduled stop for the US presidential entourage is at the North Mayo Heritage and Genealogical Centre, where Mr. Biden will further explore the story of his Blewett ancestors who emigrated from Mayo over 160 years ago. Later, there'll be meetings with his local cousins before the president delivers a speech in front of an anticipated crowd of thousands in Ballina this evening. The visit will officially conclude with a departure ceremony attended by members of the government at Ireland West Airport tonight. Pat McGrath, RTE News, Ballina, County Mayo.
The Taoiseach Micheál Martin said Mr. Biden had focused on values during his visit to Ireland. On Morning Ireland, Mr. Martin said the need to tend the peace had been a clear theme of Mr. Biden's trip.
He did focus a lot over the last number of days on values. And then the issue of peace. 25 years of the Good Friday Agreement, he was very clear on that in terms of his own personal investment in that as a politician, an Irish-American politician, and the need to tend the peace, the need to nurture the peace. And that was a clear theme.
In the US, the 21-year-old National Guardsman who was arrested on suspicion of leaking classified defence documents is due to appear in court in Boston today. The FBI arrested Jack Teixeira as part of an investigation into the discovery of hundreds of secret Pentagon documents on a chat platform for video gamers. New electric car sales in Ireland have bypassed diesel car sales for the first time. Data from the Society of the Irish Motor Industry shows that 24% of all new cars sold in Ireland during the first 3 months of this year are either fully electric or hybrid. This year, with sales so far up another 50%, it's expected that more than 20,000 new electric vehicles will be sold.
RTE Radio 1 weather with Grant. From condensing oil boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, you can trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.eu.
Scattered showers will develop through the morning and afternoon, heaviest and most frequent over the northern half of the country. Highest temperatures 9 to 12 degrees. And that's all for the moment. We'll have news again at 10.
The Ryan Tubridy Show on RTE Radio 1, sponsored by Centre Parks. Enjoy splashing good fun in Ireland's largest indoor water park.
And a very good morning to you all. This is Ryan Tubridy with you. It's Friday morning, the 14th of April, 2023 at 9:05. Great to have your company today. We're here, of course, till 10 o'clock. And then Well, this is going to be a weird day for people like me because tonight we have the Late Late Show, but it's been completely going to be contingent on what happens when Joe Biden gets to Ballina. Now, when he gets there, and by the way, good luck everybody today, have fun. When he gets there, he's going to be doing lots of stuff. And I have been watching him and glued to the wonderful coverage for the last few days. I realise one thing. He can't turn down an extended hand to shake. Now, when every hand in the country wants to shake that hand, pretty much, that means that every diary, plan and schedule is put into an enormous shredder marked POTUS, President of the United States, because nothing is going to happen on time. And that's the way it is, because as you can see, he wants to meet everyone. And he wants to say hello to everyone. He doesn't want to just meet the so-called posh people or the so-called important people. He wants to meet everyone because, as he said himself, everyone's important. Good lesson in life. And therefore, he says, bring it all back to him. The Late Tonight and us and those who watch it will be nothing changes, will be contingent on what time he gets to the podium in Ballina. Now, they say it could be 9:15, but having been there at Leinster House yesterday, I'll get to that in a second, it could also be 11:15 p.m. or 10:30. So we're standing by with some guests going, I'm terribly sorry. Can I offer you another 7-Up there while you're waiting, or maybe some TK red lemonade, whatever? Do they still even sell that? Either way, they do. Do they sell Cadet, or is that gone? Either way, it doesn't matter. We'll give them something as we're waiting. And we have Hosier and Bob Odenkirk on tonight, among others, and from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad and so many other things. Anyway, among the guests tonight, but the audience also will have to be fed and watered. We'll be handing out popcorn, still water, sparkling water, and we'll keep them occupied. But we don't know what time we're going to be on it because we're live. We have to wait and see. So who knows? No, either way, it's all for good reason because it's an historical visit, and must doff the cap to my old pal John O'Regan and his team and crew who are running the coverage so sumptuously, as you'd expect with John. John's the man who brought the world reeling in the air, so you can see why it's so good. He knows how to run this thing. Not an easy job, but he's doing a terrific job, as you'd expect. So yesterday I did get invited to the visitors gallery in Leinster House to watch President Biden's speech. We were told to be there for around 2:30, which is fair enough because the speech was due at 3:45. I think he got to the podium at 6. So I didn't mind. I mean, obviously I was happy. I got as far as Kildare Street, barriers either end, and I had a note which, in fairness, the Gardaí said, we know who we know who you are. Fairness, you're allowed in. So I'm very happy to go in and make my way down this empty. Have you ever seen them film Vanilla Sky, or even if you watched The Last of Us? It was like an apocalyptic take. Or actually, do you remember the real life drama called COVID? It was just like that. Who needs movie references anymore, or TV reference? It was like that, empty, and just Gardaí. So I did a few selfies making our way down the street and then some members of the staff at the Department of Agriculture all came out. We said hello and had a few pictures and had the crack. It was a beautiful sunny day. And then in the front gate, and they said, "Would you want to get? There's a little coffee, like a canteen area while you're waiting because you're well in advance of time." So sure, went there and met some lovely people. And I think Margaret who served us teas and coffees the last time she was there when we did our show from there in 2011. I think it was ages ago. Some of the staff were reminiscing about that, and she said we need to come back and do another show from there, which I'd love, a radio show, of course. So she was there, but also Paul Johnson, the British ambassador to Ireland, lovely man, and we had a chat with him and John Fitzpatrick, the hotelier, who's very involved in the American Ireland Funds, and Kieran McLaughlin, people like that who are interested in the whole Irish-American story. And then Jerry Adams was there, and Mary Lou MacDonald, and Michelle O'Neill, and Owen O'Brien. So big Sinn Féin presence there, and Senator Mark Daly, and Senator Lorraine Clifford Lee, and Senator Catherine Arda, all these people who you'd know from passing by or interviewing down through the years, everyone in their best bib and tucker, everyone getting on well with each other. I have to say cross-party happiness and jollity all around. And lots of American people, like I met Gary Hart, who you might remember ran for the presidency once, and Senator Chris Dodd, and lots of congressmen and women and senators, and of course Mark Shriver of the Kennedy family was there, and he would have been very friendly with my old cousin Dot Tuberty, who's a pal of Ethel Kennedy, of that whole family. So we had a great old conversation about that. And who else? I met a heap of MLAs from across the border, all of whom we did loads of pictures together, all of whom were so pleasant, so charming, and so full of chat about this situation and how things